Hey, welcome to the Office of Undergraduate Research Education series. Today's session is Cite Smarter, Not Harder, Tips with AI. This is a virtual event and is being recorded, so we ask everyone to mute yourself and turn off your camera to ensure the best experience. But if you have questions, you can use the chat feature or unmute yourself when invited by the speaker. And this is the event evaluation. We would love everyone to complete this after the presentation, but we want to remind the Spur, Europe, and Wilkes scholars that you must complete this in order to get credit for attending today. And the mission of the Office of Undergraduate Research is to facilitate and promote undergraduate, student, faculty, collaborative research, and creative works in all disciplines throughout the U campus. And we would like to acknowledge that this land, which is named for the Ute tribe, is the traditional and ancestral homeland of the Shoshone, Paiute, Goshute, and Ute tribes. The U recognizes and respects the enduring relationship that exists between many indigenous peoples and their traditional homelands. We respect the sovereign relationship between tribe states and the federal government, and we affirm the U's commitment to a partnership with Native nations and urban Indian communities through research, education, and community outreach activities. And I'd like to introduce today's speaker. It's Brandon Patterson. He's a technology engagement library at the Eccles Library.
Well, it's great to be here today. Yeah, I'm Brandon. I'm one of several librarians here at the U that assist researchers, students, those in the community as well, access information. So I'm excited to present on behalf of the library on ways that we can utilize some of the technology, including AI, to look at our research and ways we might be able to cite information smarter. And use those tools. So I'm going to introduce some tools today, do some hands-on kind of demo of some of these tools, and then hopefully get you situated with being able to cite your work. So the goals of today, I'm going to provide you with ways AI can and cannot assist you with an academic research project or process. And just a spoiler, AI is limited or kind of bad actually at how it cites sources. So I'm going to also get you familiar with a citation manager to assist throughout your research career. So some of you may and others may not have heard of some of these tools. There's a lot of tools out there right now for research, and these are really geared towards us, towards academic researchers. They take databases of academic journals and put them through a large language model that then kind of extracts data that we can use. And so you might have heard of some of these. Um, and if you haven't, of course, you've heard of like ChatGPT, Copilot, or other kind of general large language models that we're finding researchers are also utilizing in some capacity. Myself at the library, I've been interested in ways that kind of librarians see these tools. So I surveyed librarians here at the U to see which ones that they're familiar with. And as you can imagine, a lot were familiar with those general LLMs or large language models, including ChatGPT and Microsoft Copilot. But there was some familiarity with others like Elicit, Research Rabbit, Scholar-C, Cite, and then you can see there's not a lot of familiarity with the others. So I was curious to pull you all, and I'm going to put in this link in the chat here. So if you'll go to this link and click on any of these that you have familiarity with, just to get a sense of where people are with access or familiarity with these tools. And if you haven't heard any of these, there's an option for that as well. So we'll give folks a minute to address that. All All right, I think that settled a bit. So, as you can see, there is some familiarity, especially with those free resources. So, Research Rabbit is a free resource. We're finding that a lot of professors, especially like we work closely with the nursing department. There's a few classes within nursing utilizing it. They use a lot of kind of mapping visualization, so you can see citations and then you can see how they're mapped onto other citations. Scholar is a little similar to that. It's kind of a more of a mapping tool, as well as lit maps, which some others are familiar with. Cite and Semantic Scholar are more kind of database driven. You'll see that they connect two different databases that then will provide summaries of articles or several topics within an article area. Um, and so we are seeing some familiarity with that as well. And the libraries actually just made a deal with Cite, which is one of these that some of you have heard of, to continue the license to utilize and access some of our full text articles here at the library. So that's one that we're going to probably be more familiar with coming up in the academic year. So using that same poll, that website, you should get a different question now. So we're interested in kind of what concerns you about using AI for research. So I'll give folks a minute to think through these. And this is kind of your top concern because I think you're only able to choose one. So. All right, thanks for those that have responded to this survey. So, yeah, this is something we're seeing a lot in the research community. There's kind of a lot of these areas you can imagine are concerns, but especially kind of the ethical use of AI. We're seeing a lot more policy out there within like the research office to kind of give some guardrails to using AI for things, even like filling out an application for a grant. How do we do that ethically, right? How do we include things like, let's say I'm using AI for a literature review. How am I then telling the editor or the paper that I'm writing for about that? Um, this other concern that you all mentioned was accuracy and reliability, or these hallucinations. There's, of course, if AI has a hard time figuring out something, can't find information, it often makes it up. So that can be a big concern in the research community. And we're already seeing kind of high level cases where either people in the area of law or business or medicine are finding these hallucinated citations, and they're getting in big trouble, right? Because um, you're not actually accessing reliable and real information. This is made up information, so that can be a big concern. Um, and then kind of limited understanding of AI. We're in the beginnings of this and utilizing it. I mentioned that there are some policies out there, but we're kind of limited in what we're able to put guardrails on right now because we're kind of in the Wild West still, and there's still ongoing new AI systems coming out daily. There's different use cases that we're seeing. So this is something that I think everyone within academia and other areas of industry are really interested in, and something you'll hear a lot about in conferences and the news and everything else. So stay tuned. All right, thank you. We also asked librarians this question. So what are they concerned about regarding AI? And we allow them to select multiple, so you can see there's more of a breadth here, but it does mirror a lot of what you said in terms of that hallucinations. A lot of people are concerned about that, kind of the ethics of it. There's also a lot of bias that we're seeing around the algorithms that make up these systems. There's some equity issues as well as some transparency. How can we replicate this information? So yeah, so big concerns out there on this. So wanted to give everyone a heads up on that. Um, when a lot of these concerns are valid, right? Because AI lacks that contextual understanding. AI models don't inherently understand the meaning or relevance of information. They generate text based on patterns in the data they were trained on, and they're not based in deep understanding of source material. Like was concerned and mentioned was AI has hallucinations and they can generate citations that don't exist or are inaccurate, and these are referred to as those hallucinations. And then it can't evaluate source quality. So AI can't assess the reliability, credibility, or bias of a source, which is crucial for responsible citations, especially as we are now consumers of information. We're seeing on especially social media a lot of AI-based content that, there's videos out there now that are AI content. So how can we kind of put our thinking caps on and really think through this source and identify whether or not it is a real source versus a fake AI generated source. So, um, in essence, while AI can be helpful as a tool in research and writing, um, it's really crucial. I think this is my next. It's really crucial that we understand the limitations and approach AI generated content with caution. All right, so how can AI help me? We've learned about some of the concerns here, but what are ways that AI can help? So there are definitely ways in which AI has proven helpful. I'm sure everyone here has at least dabbled in an AI tool of some kind. And even if you haven't like been on ChatGPT or Copilot, it is now integrated into a lot of our tools we're already using, right? So if you're using like a Maps app on a phone, you're seeing like live feeds of car data to see where it's going to be high traffic areas, for instance. So a lot of that is AI based. And then we're even seeing in some of our databases in the library that there's now AI tools so that instead of just typing keywords into a database, you're now able to type a full question, kind of have a conversation or a chat. And then that's getting you different information. So we're seeing these more prominent now. So AI can assist in that research process by finding those potential sources. This is with verification, of course. So AI can suggest potential sources, but the user must verify the information and ensure the resource is credible and relevant. AI can also assist with summarizing and consolidating information. AI can pull out specific study information like methods or results while also summarizing the content in an article. But it doesn't have to be, or it doesn't have the critical thinking and contextual understanding to really evaluate a source and understand a source. And so that's where you come in as the person to find the relevancy and properly address a complex research question you might have. And then AI can also assist with helping explore and refine research topics, search strategies, or generate some of those citations. But all that takes kind of human oversight. So AI can be a tool for building upon and applying your knowledge towards helpful and maybe even smarter results. But it's not a replacement for human critical thinking and judgment. And human oversight is needed to determine if the information presented is relevant and accurate. So the big takeaway here is while AI can be a helpful tool in the research and writing process, it's crucial to understand its limitations and approach AI-generated content with caution. So knowing that, let's move forward and let's try out one of these tools that was mentioned. So this is one that a lot of people haven't heard of. Nobody at the library had heard of it, but it is one that we're finding a lot of use out of, and there is free trials available. So This is one I'm going to showcase today. So this one's called Undermined. It's a software that was developed to assist in the research process. And what's different about Undermine than some others is it uses this generation technique called retrieval augmented generation. And this is similar to like Cite or Elicit or some other tools you might be familiar with. But basically, you as the user will start here, right? And you'll put in kind of a query or a question, maybe probably based on a research topic. It'll then vectorize and search in a database, very specific. So what these tools use is usually an open source kind of database on articles. So it's not hallucinating because it is coming from this database of articles that's very specific. So it tends to be a more protected environment and an environment that's more kind of based in a certain area. So if I'm like doing, let's say I'm not doing research, but I'm interested in like, I'm a cook, I want to find a new recipe. The idea here is that this kind of vector database would be all the recipes out there, and then AI will grab from those recipes and won't make up a recipe. It's just utilizing what's already there. So same with the database of articles. It's utilizing all those articles. It's not making up articles. So then it's finding all those documents, chunking them, then retrieving them into a prompt that then goes to that large language model that we're familiar with, right? And then it delivers a response to us. So that's kind of a way in which some of these tools can be more reliable than something like a ChatGPT or Copilot, for instance, because those are utilizing kind of it's kind of bypassing the database here and just going into this prompt to find relevant context, and it could make that up. And there are kind of drawbacks even to this retrieval augmented generation system, that this is often a paid service. So because they do have contracts with these publishers or areas, there's often a need to pay. So Undermine's one of those. Cite, like I mentioned, is getting like a license with the university. So the university is paying that. Um, um, and so there are some ways that students at least can access that through their institution. Um, these are limited to a lot of open source full text and then title abstracts. And so you can imagine like some of those really highly uh, cited journals like Science or Nature are under a paywall. And so you're not, these systems aren't searching everything within a paywall. They're kind of just searching what's openly available online through their databases, which is tends to be okay, but there can be some content within the open source that might not be as reliable. So you always do have to, again, check for reliability, check that source that it is valid and from a researcher that is a researcher at an institution. Um, and then it's also finding those title abstracts, but those can be limiting because sometimes they don't show the full kind of population or method or some of the limitations of a study. So know that that could also be a drawback. And then finally, you can't really replicate these results. So because of that black box or kind of whatever proprietary kind of system these software use, you can't replicate it, so it's hard to publish on it exactly. So if I'm using this, like, let's say I'm really interested in a high-level review of kind of different things that might cause cancer, for instance. I could type that into a prompt, right? Try and get some information, but when I go into the publishing realm and want to publish it, I really can't say, well, I just typed this in and this is the information on this. I kind of have to say, these are the keywords I used, this is when I used it, these are the databases I used, and this is the information I received. So yeah, know that there's limitations to using these. So I'm going to go to undermined here. So you can try it. There is a free version available, free trial. So I've logged in now. So what Undermine does is asks you to put in a research topic initially. So let's say I'm interested in kind of adolescence and use of social media. Let's say that's kind of a broad topic I'm interested in. So, what we really like about Undermined, and the reason why I say we is I did a research project with a few librarians as well as students that are doing research to kind of better understand these tools. And we actually developed a rubric where we were able to kind of rate them. And this was one of the highest rated research tool out there. So again, the reason why we like this is because you do have this conversation with this research assistant, and this is something where if you're consulting with a librarian, you'll often get these questions as well. So can you clarify a bit more about your main interest? This is a very broad topic. You're going to get a lot of information here. So what most concerns you about kind of these outcomes, whether it's adolescents with mental health effects, academic performance, identity development? Is there a certain platform you're interested in, like TikTok, Instagram? Is there any particular context like cyberbullying or positive uses that you might be interested in? So yeah, these are great questions. So yeah, let's say mental health. Yeah, interested more in kind of mental health effects on TikTok. Um, in the context of positive uses. Okay, great. So it says you're interested in studies to examine mental health outcomes related to TikTok, used specifically among adolescents, and then to refine further. Are you looking only for empirical research? So this is again stuff you'll want to kind of get familiar with. Is there kind of data-based information out there you're interested in, or more kind of reviews on topics? Is there a certain area or country that you might be interested in when you say positive mental health? Are there certain outcomes you want to know? Um, and then so I can then kind of dive deeper, right? Go into a specific region, go, yeah, I am interested in kind of more maybe west of the US. I am interested in more data or kind of studies that are getting more of that hard data. So then I can generate a research report. And these do take a minute to produce, just because it does have to run through all that their database of articles, kind of skim through those, pull out what is specific. So I'm going to do one that is a little similar based on that, just to give you kind of an overview of what it looks like. So you can see here that it is pulling out kind of a summary of what these articles said based on that refined research topic area I had a conversation with the chat about. It's pulling out key findings. And what's important here is you can notice here that it's pulling out these citations as well. So it's giving me where it is that this information is from. I can also go in and open each of these papers, read them. I can get more details as well. And what we liked, again, we rated this highly, is that we like the percentage. So it gives like, this is like a seminal article, definitely read it, don't miss it. It relates to your topic very highly. Versus like these ones, 59, that's still pretty good, but know that there's something missing there. So it can give you kind of a better sense of which articles might be most relevant to your area. And so you can see here, it kind of pulls out these key findings. It gives a consensus. It even does like categories that I might be interested in, like doing a specific project on. I'm seeing timelines here. What are some foundational references? Again, I kind of mentioned some of these, I get higher percentage points. But what's nice is it's now making kind of this reference table where I'm seeing kind of title, author, journal that I might be more familiar with, or I can see, oh, this isn't a journal, so maybe this isn't a very reliable article, right? Maybe it's like a blog post or something, so I could check into that. Um, and so that continues here under this reference as well. So you can also kind of do continue that conversation with that chat bot to like say, oh, can you do some predictions of future trends based on this? Or what are some of the limitations in this area, in this study area? So then it's going to kind of think through that based on kind of the information it gathers. It can kind of give me some of those limitations that studies tend to have in this area. So again, this is just a tool, right? You're going to still put on that research cap that you have and go into these references a bit more. Do a traditional lit search as you normally would with keywords, go into those databases, but maybe some of the articles here can either get you more familiar with that topic area if you're newer to it, or give you some of those keywords that you might not normally think of that you can then add to that research project you're doing. So all these, part of today was also about citations. So a lot of these tools have these little question or quotation marks. And of course, you can go through those and highlight them and start copying them to research projects as well. So that's going to be my next piece here for our next half of this session, is kind of talking about citations, ways AI can and can't help within that. All right, so as I just pointed out, most of these tools pull citations for you. You might even notice that in databases, you're often getting this resource as well. Things like if you're using Google Scholar, for instance, they have this little quotation tool and you can cite it. Know that these are being generated through the information that is on this on the system itself, on the document. So always, even if it is generated through something like this automatic system, is to check to make sure like capitalization is correct, because that's a big indicator that it's either sentence case or title case, right? And then that some of that punctuation is accurate, as well as the italicized information. And so I was able to get access. When you registered, you were able to put in kind of your field. So this is a majority of the people that are attending today, your field and your preferred citation style. So you can see that there's a lot of citation styles out there. And what's important about this is really citation styles are a way for us to communicate within our field. So it's kind of giving that that seal of approval, right? That we've put in the work, that we know how to cite information accurately so that others can find the information correctly, that they know it's reliable, that they're finding that they can find my article and maybe even replicate it if they're wanting to validate my research. So this is really vital in the research field, and it's why it becomes such a hot topic a lot of times. And like a sore subject for especially for young people in these fields that are getting familiar with citation styles, is it's a lot of nitpicky kind of I don't know, it seems like busy work, right? You're writing these citations, it's not very fun, you're just trying to get them right. You might get a spelling, or you might get that capitalization wrong or punctuation wrong, and you get dark points, and it's just awful, right? So but know that there's seriousness to this, because if you do get it, like let's say you publish a work and you get a citation wrong, then your your whole body of work that you put into that paper, just because you got citations wrong, is gonna now put a shadow on that paper and people aren't going to think as highly. That's not as well conducted of a research project, right? So these are really vital, and it's why it's such an important piece of a lot of the research community. Um, and a lot of folks are trying to find ways to utilize AI to use and kind of make sure that they're getting their citations correct, right? So this is a chat I did with ChatGPT. Can you help me like cite a source? Sure, give me this information. Well, I don't really want to type all that information out for you. It's not easy. So here's the article. I pasted it. ChatGPT didn't like that. It still wanted me to pull it out. So then I found the citation somewhere. Can you convert this? It didn't like convert it accurately. It's not an easy way. So when I'm saying cite smarter, not harder. This is the harder way, is to try and navigate through this. So that's where we really like citation machines or managers. And yeah, so it's kind of our hero within this area. So ChatGPT helped me with this really neato little graphic for us to recognize those citation managers. And so what are citation managers? Well, it's software out there that allows you to collect, organize, annotate, cite, and share research sources. It saves citations with a click. It's super easy, I promise. Great for collaboration with colleagues. You can share information if you're doing like a research project amongst a group. You can share articles with each other. It's not very hard to learn. It's an easy learning curve, and there's a responsive community for assistance. Well, the library is a great source if you're needing some help. There's often online forums as well in this area. So the two main ones that we like to talk about are Zotero and EndNote. Um, Zotero is more of an open source tool. It's free. Basically, you pay for storage if you're wanting to save PDFs using this, but really, if you're a beginning researcher kind of utilizing citations, you don't need that. So I recommend most everyone start with Zotero if you're new. Um, it's easy to import things like web pages, folders. Um, the only con of it that we find in the library is it's a little clunkier when you're actually writing your paper and utilizing the site while you write. So this is a tool where you can plug into Word or your other word processor, and it'll automatically put those citations within your paper and then cite them correctly. So again, really, really simple. Again, Zotero is really nice because they have these plugins that work with things like Chrome or Firefox that then you can just hit a button and it'll integrate it within your library. You can also, let's say you've been saving PDFs for a while, or you're given PDFs from a faculty member that wants you to do research and read these and cite them. You can just drag and drop or import if you're using EndNote, those PDFs, and it will populate those fields for you so you can cite them. And then you can import from databases, like let's say you're utilizing PubMed, for instance, you can, once you get those citations or those references you're interested in citing, you can send them to your citation manager from the database and get it populated that way. It's really easy to organize a library once you now have all these resources or references right within your library. So you might be working on several projects. So now you can group these and organize them by project or by use case. And then this is just a little tip that we like to share is we like to have everything in folders so you can use the unfiled group to see what's not organized yet, so that when you're importing information into your library, you kind of know if something hasn't been like let's say I haven't added it yet to my paper yet. So that can be a step where I can then pull it into a file once I do utilize it and recognize it within a paper. Again, Cite While You Write is a really handy tool. Basically, it's just an added tab within your Word. Word's probably the most popular way to utilize, but it does work, I think, with Google Docs, as well as some Apple products. But yeah, so you go to this is an EndNote tab or Zotero tab based on what you're utilizing. You make a claim or say something, and then you put that reference and citation right into the um, the Word document, and it'll format it for you correctly. You can change, like you can see the style right now is JAMA or AMA, but you might be interested in changing that, right? And this happens a lot in the research community because I might be writing a paper for a specific journal, but then maybe I don't get into that journal, so I have to change to another journal, and they have a different reference style. So instead of having to like handwrite those all over again, I can just switch the style type and it'll update that for me. So, and if you don't see the style on this drop-down menu, you can always, there's a big database of basically every uh, reference or style that you might be interested in. So um, definitely look for that. So before we get to questions and maybe think through those for a minute, I am going to just show you a use case for Zotero. This is basically what the library looks like. And then let's say that, okay, so let's say I'm going to the library website. I'm interested in looking at PubMed. Again, we kind of do that adolescent and social media. Of course, if I'm utilizing one of those tools like Undermine, I could maybe plug in some more references or ideas. And let's say this was an article that I found really interesting that I'd like to cite in my paper. So I've already installed the plugin into Chrome for Zotero. So you can see up here, this turns into kind of a little document. Before it wasn't this, but once you get to a page that you want, it usually changes into that document style. So then I just click that button, it goes into my library. If I had groups or information, I could split this up. But yeah, so now this is over in my library. I can see the resource type that it plugged everything in here for me. Um, and then if I go into Word, let's see. Oh, and I just have EndNote in my Word, but basically now I can insert that citation directly into my document. For instance, this like cited some of these tools for me. And so now I'm able to move forward with that and cite it. And so, yeah, so this is kind of an easy tool. It doesn't really utilize AI at the moment because really there's not a lot of like reason to because it is such an easy kind of system. And I think sometimes AI can complicate things a little bit. So it's kind of nice that it is simple in that regard. The one thing that you might have to do as you're going through this is you might notice that like within this paper, maybe it only had a K for the author first name and the style I'm using wants their full first name, then I'd have to go in to Zotero itself and plug that in here. And then when I'm back into my Word document, I then want to refresh that, right? So update citations and bibliography. And this is the same with Zotero. So I'm using EndNote as an example, but this would be the same. So you can update that citation and it'll automatically change and include that first name, for instance. So that's something a little bit handy. So I think I'll leave some time for questions now for any folks that have them, and feel free to put them in the chat. And then I think Shelley's going to give me a few questions that you might have submitted, or one of you might have submitted prior to this session, so I can also answer that.
Brandon, there is a question in the chat. What are your thoughts on the ChatGPT paid deep research function?
Okay, yeah. So this deep research function is new. It's something that I think that just came out, and there's similar versions within like the new Google Gemini. Um, I know like Elicit is a big one. Um, we haven't run this through our channel because it is fairly new through our rubric, right? To see if we like it more than like an undermined or something. So I'm curious to see what our group would rate it. I haven't really done too much with it yet. I think it is so that what makes it a deep research function versus just general ChatGPT is that RAG system I discussed earlier. So I could go back to that really quick in this. So what basically ChatGPT is overlaying in their research in their deep research section, they're using kind of these documents of articles only, right? And this was something we use where they're only utilizing their articles, they're not hallucinating. So this is their way of kind of meeting that demand of people are saying, well, it's hallucinating, I can't really depend on it. Well, with deep research mode, you're utilizing that database of sources. That's again why it's paid, is because they're having to make some agreements with some publishers to get access to some of those and then run it through this system. So overall, it's going to be probably just as good as some of those other tools. Again, I think the reason why I brought up Undermine today is because it kind of has that conversation that a lot of us in the library already have with researchers, and a lot of these other tools like I don't know if ChatGPT Deep Research does that, but I'm guessing it might not, and that is one of the things we liked about that. But again, I think it is important also to pinpoint the drawbacks, where even that deep research component of ChatGPT is going to have these same drawbacks. You're going to have to pay. You're going to be limited in some of the content because it can't gain access to everything. Where I mean, right now there's some litigation around like New York Times and ChatGPT accessing it illegally. So you're still going to miss out on some of those full text and open sources and or sorry, just full text and paid sources. And then it's hard to replicate, right? So I think pinpointing that again is important.
Here's a question from a registrant. I think you may have already covered it. Um, but how can I be confident that the generator is providing quality citations?
Yeah, great. So it's really kind of going back to kind of that information literacy 101, which a lot of us kind of get clued in on probably our freshman year, right? When you're kind of getting familiar with academia and the way it works. So a lot of times in the library we're using acronyms, right? So a popular one is CRAP. It doesn't sound the best, but it is memorable, so that's why I think people use it. So um, it's really CRAAP. So you're looking at C, which is the currency of the information. How current is the information that you're getting from this system? So is it 2025, especially around AI? You're wanting more recent articles, right? If you're doing medicine, you're wanting more recent articles. You're not really looking at foundational text. So you're looking at that currency. Then you're looking at R, which is relevancy. Is this really relevant to my topics? You could see that with Undermine, for instance, it's let's see, it's putting uh, like a percentage level on some of these like relevant how based on I think it's using words like similarity of words to your prompt to what's in the article itself. So you're looking at that relevancy, and that's a lot of times you have to double check that and go, okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense because I'm talking about TikTok and this really focuses in on that. Then the two A's, one's authority. So you're checking to make sure that whomever is writing this paper, for instance, is like a faculty member at an institution of higher learning. You can look at them on Google and they're there, that they're that they have authority in the field, that they published other things on this topic. So you can look at that through like Google Scholar, for instance, you can see all their previous work. And then accuracy, that it's kind of, uh, again, this is where that getting accurate citations pays off because it's saying that you have quality research. So you're ensuring that whatever you're finding is really accurate to your topic, right? And then P is kind of the publisher, making sure that kind of that journal is a well-regarded journal within your field, that you've heard of it, that you might have even read it before or seen articles from it. There are such things as predatory journals, right, that are just asking researchers to pay money so that they can put their article within a paper. And there are some legitimate open source journals that do require payment because they're not charging people to access information. They're giving that information free, but those are usually retro or known journals that have reputation within the scholarly community. So if you're ever just curious and let's say you're really interested in writing, you have a really great project that you've worked on that you want published, and let's say you've gotten an email that a researcher or a journal can publish it, you just have to pay like $1,000 and do it. Reach out to the library. We have librarians that specialize in this that can look to make sure that this is a legitimate journal. We also have agreements with some journals that have open source fees, that we actually have agreements that we cover those because we're a university and we don't put those on the researcher themselves. So again, the library is going to be a great resource. I'm up in the health sciences library, the Eccles Library, but we also have great libraries on lower campus like the Marriott Library or Faust Law Library, that can help support you as well.
Well, while students are thinking of their questions, there's another one from a registrant. Can AI help you find novel sources?
Right. So kind of novel to me means like original, unique sources. I mean, I think going through the undermine process kind of can make you familiar with kind of the way it's utilizing some of the like large language model idea to this retrieval augmented generation, so the RAG system, where you're able to get maybe some unique sources that you wouldn't normally find if you're just like putting in a search within, let's say, Google Scholar, for instance. That's a popular one with folks. Whatever you're getting in Google Scholar, what rises to the top there is going to be different because you're not having kind of that conversation with an AI that can refine your search topic a bit more. One of the things we looked at when we were doing the rubric for these and testing these tools against one another is saying how like if I put in the same query in every resource, what different articles am I getting to the top? And a lot of these tools like Elicit was fairly good at this site, or Undermined were kind of the ones that what we found were the most consistent in getting kind of unique resources to the top. They were a lot more current, and a lot of them gave us that like relevancy score, so I can ensure that this is relevant to my topic. So I think those are things to utilize that is going to be a lot more helpful than, let's say, if I'm using like ChatGPT or Copilot. Again, you're not going to be sure that that the information you're getting is not hallucinated. You're going to have to do a lot more legwork to kind of check that, and maybe it won't even be kind of a novel source. The one thing that I think that AI is still gonna help us with and hasn't really been done is looking at some of that gray literature. So gray literature is things that haven't been published, but are either like in a preprint journal, so something that hasn't been peer reviewed, but could still be interesting to your field, or maybe it's being presented at a conference. But as a poster or presentation, but it hasn't been written up on. So none of these tools yet utilize any of that gray literature. It's all kind of that white papers or articles or things that have that stamp of approval through like a journal. So it would be curious to see maybe what are the best ways to utilize AI to find some of that gray literature. Right now, it's just a lot of times going to websites like, let's say there's a conference website and they have their abstracts on there from the conference. It's looking through that. So it's a kind of more manual. So I'd be curious to see if that's coming into our future and if some of these tools will help with that. I think the last thing I just wanted to say before I turn it over to Shelley is, again, the library is going to be a great resource for you. My email's down here, so if you want to reach out to me, you can, or really anyone in the library is going to be a great resource if you have questions about citation or about some of these information gathering AI tools, which ones, let's say you're using them and just have questions about them. You can reach out as well, and myself or another librarian can help assist you. So thanks so much for attending today.
Well, thank you, Brandon. This was very, very informative. We want to remind everybody about the evaluation form. We'd love everybody to complete it, but the Spur Europe and Wilkes Scholars must do it to get credit for attending today. And our last slide is just about the Office of Undergraduate Research. We're located in the SEAL Center, which is just across the parking lot from the Union. Our website is our.utah.edu, and you can email us at our@utah.edu. And thank you again, Brandon.